You're moving on, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom's been sold.
I actually don't really want to leave at all.
Sky Sports actually got wind of this.
Not happy to be leaving. I'm not buzzing to go out the door. I've been taking my time to get out of it. This club's destined to go to the very top with how we're doing.
We've got goals to back and no time to lag. Up the tags.
Alright guys, how you doing? Welcome back to another #United video. This is a special one. It tends to be about once a year at least. We have a big announcement coming out of the esports side of the club. But before we start the video, I want to tell you two things. First of all, there is a brand new #esports jersey. We've been holding this one back until the FIFA season starts, which is starting now because the new game is out. So check it out. The brand new #esports jersey is available. #unitedstore.com. We've got the purple, we've got the black. Lucas Aid providing the support. We love you, Lucas Aid. You give us energy. So make sure you go and get this top. #unitedstore.com. The best FIFA esports jersey in town. And secondly, I want to tell you, if you're not already subscribed, check out the #United Esports channel. Of course, the new game is out, so we've got more content than ever going to be hitting that channel in the next few days and weeks. Everything you need to know about being good at FIFA and following the #United Esports competitive journey will be on that channel. The link is in the description. Make sure you subscribe. This time last year, it was the fact that Harry had moved on. And a year later now is another announcement you may have seen already on our social channels today, which is the departure of another, I'm going to use the word legend, #legend. In just 2 years, you've gained legendary status here. #Tom, or the artist formerly known as. You're moving on, Tom.
Yeah, it's big praise, Ben. Legend.
I know.
I'm happy with that.
You've won things. You've won a lot of things. A couple big things, particularly, which we're going to talk about at the club. And but actually, that's not just the reason I call Tom a legend. It's also about how great it's been having you at the club. But we're going to get into all that soppy stuff in a bit. First of all, we're going to talk about the headline fact here, which is that Tom's not just leaving the club. Tom's been sold. Okay, we have sold him like a product. Like he's not a real human being. We've never done this before at this football club. This is the first time for us. Is it the first time you've been sold, Tom?
Yes, as far as I'm aware.
I'm going to ask you how that feels in a minute because I'm fascinated. But obviously we're smiling now, and you know it's a sad day. I'm sure some of you guys are really upset to see Tom leave. I am too. It's a real shame. But I want to talk about all the reasons why it's come about, and hopefully you can see in the tone of this video that it's a very amicable situation between #Tom and Tom's new team, XL, which we'll get into in due course. But what's great, I think, is that we're actually getting the opportunity to make this video at all. I'm sure it's happened somewhere, but I've personally never actually seen, mainly in football, shall we say, a situation where a player's sold and then he sits down with the owner of said club and you have a discussion about what's happened. It's usually just the end of the road and you just see him down the line. Do you know what I mean? You don't get that opportunity. So hopefully it'd be good to just talk it all through.
Yeah. I mean, # are a unique club, aren't we? And I think this is another thing where players sit down and can discuss everything publicly. I think it's part of why the club's so special. And yeah, I look forward to talking about it.
I love the fact that he said, aren't we? Because I definitely consider Tom still a part of this club for the long-term future, regardless of whose jersey he wears when he plays and what his handle is or whatever. Okay, let's take it back to the beginning. So quite a few months ago, probably late spring, early summer, we'd been getting interest in Tom. And let's talk about why that is. You know, Tom's an exceptional FIFA talent. I can say these things. He's going to be blushing right now, but these things are just factually true. Let's deal with facts in this video. You know, #1 player in Europe this year by some way. One of the best players in Europe the year before as well. In the world, actually, in both years, really. You've won quite a few things whilst playing for us or being with us. You've had the EPL trophy back in 2020 when you played for Watford. This year you've won the regional event, which is obviously all online, but it's still one of the major events of the EA calendar. But you've been the most consistent player in Europe at least, and that's a major thing in FIFA Esports. It's the closest thing you can guarantee yourselves to, you know, having a player at a tournament, having your sponsors being broadcast if you're a club of sponsors, all these sorts of things. So Tom's a very valuable asset. So we were getting inquiries, and we get inquiries every year. People say, is this player available? What's the deal there? What's etc. etc. The difference was this time, people was talking about paying money for a player. Now, there's never been any, certainly not to this scale, talked about, widely known FIFA Esports transfer since Sky Sports actually got wind of this a few months ago, didn't they? They did a story about it. Since that article came out, some other people have said there has been players that have moved, but it's not something that any of us in the industry really knew about. Certainly not to this level. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the first major esports, FIFA esports transfer. There's been a lot of transfers in other esports, you know, massive games, Fortnite, things like this. But for FIFA, it's a first. Now, just because people were interested in buying Tom didn't mean we were interested in listening. Let's talk about our situation with regards to Tom. Tom had been with us for 2 years. He's been an absolute joy to have at this club, and all the statements and stuff you'll see, you're hearing from me again now. Everything about Tom is brilliant, which is why other teams want to sign him, right? It's because his work ethic, his what it's like to work with him, his manner, his dedication, and of course his ability. Up there with the best in the world, in my opinion. So that's why people want to sign Tom. Now, why would hashtag want to sell him? Well, the answer is we didn't really. I don't want to sell our best players, but sometimes my job means I have to make very difficult decisions for the long-term stability of this football club and our long-term success that aren't necessarily going to make you as fans happy. So when this interest came in, I sat down with Tom and we said, look, there's some teams that are interested in you. And one thing that's always apparent, and I've never shied away from this in talking about this, is we don't pay the most money of all the other teams. We have our own reasons for what we choose to pay based on what we can actually make from FIFA Esports and what the industry supports. But there's other teams and football clubs and whatnot with a lot bigger pockets than us because they can get resource from other areas, be it investment they've had because of other esports teams, games they're in, or for the football club that they operate alongside. We don't have that. So we don't have the biggest budgets. So I've never wanted to stand in the way of any player that's had an opportunity to get a life-changing contract somewhere. So I spoke to Tom. Said, Tom, there's some teams interested. Do you want to play it out and see what they're saying, right? And that's what we did. So we started to see what people were saying and what sort of offers you could get elsewhere. Because, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Tom, but it certainly was no intent from us to lose you. And you never came to me asking for a move. You never said you wanted to leave.
Yeah, I'd never actually spoken to you until you came to me and said there's interest there. We should probably have a conversation about it. I think with how the year went and how happy I was here, that it didn't really cross my mind. I didn't think, firstly, people would be willing to pay a fee to even attempt to buy me. And secondly, that it would become an option later down the line. I never really saw it happening. So yeah, there was definitely no intention of leaving until I'd heard about these offers coming in. Yeah,
exactly right. And the fee thing is really important. I'm not going to go into the details of how much Tom has been sold for. I know some of you were really curious, but I can tell you this. It was always going to have to be a genuinely substantial amount of money for us to even listen to it, because we really do value Tom highly. The reason why a certain amount of money might be interesting to us is because of what we're trying to do as a club. So you've got to look at the long-term picture here. We haven't had any sizable investment as a club to date. As Pilaqueta got involved a few years ago. But other than that, we're up against teams in football and in esports with sometimes much bigger budgets than us. But our big long-term goal at this club, and I've made no secret of this, and this is something I told Tom when the offers started to come in, the big long-term goal that is going to really help both sides of the club, the football team and all our teams and our esports organisation, is getting a permanent home, is getting a stadium. We spend a lot of money every single year on renting facilities for football, for our offices, for our esports HQ. All these things. If we can get our hands on an area, a stadium, if you like, a facility that we own, we can start to be more sustainable as a business, which is my ultimate long-term goal. As much as I hate the idea of having captured one of the best players and personalities in the scene and having to let them go, when offers come in, sometimes you've got to look at the long-term options, what that money could do for us down the line. And the other thing with Tom's situation is, which I'm happy to talk about, is that Tom had 1 year left with us on his contract. Okay, so this is something that, again, when a footballer changes club, you always find out these things. You never really hear them from the horse's mouth, do you? It's never like the chairman of the club or the player that goes, I had 1 year left, but we're going to just do it. We can do it. Why not? Who's stopping us? So Tom had a year left on his contract. When I negotiated the last contract with Tom, I agreed that if we wanted to keep him going, we'd have to give him an increase in his wages at some point, because he's earned it. And Tom has, if anyone's earned these numbers in FIFA Esports, I'm telling you, it's this kid right here. So not only were we going to have him for 1 more year, we were also going to have to increase his wages. That was a promise I made to him that obviously we would keep true to. So actually, if you think about the financial, shall we say, savings that the club could make, it's not just about the transfer fee coming in. It's also about the budget we can save in those wages not going up. It's worth pointing out, you may or may not have already heard, we have signed someone as well, which is another Tom Stokes, who's going to come in and he's going to form a partnership with Shorey going into next year. Shorey's staying around, of course. So these things are all going on at the same time. And there's a lot of things which we actually can't talk about in this video that have been planned for the scene in terms of competition, which make confirming who's on your team really important. And it was a bit of a crazy time in the summer, wasn't it? Because they were like, who's on your team? And no one knew.
Yeah, it was a bit of a rush, wasn't there? I think back end of August when players and teams were in a bit of uncertainty and we knew we had to get rosters across quickly and make sure we had a team sorted. So yeah, that couple of weeks really felt like a transfer deadline day like you see in football.
It really was. And when people like yourself, when people were making decisions about what teams they were going to, there was more factors than ever they had to consider because of these new changes that are coming in, which made it really complicated. It was like a chicken and the egg. Do you sign a player? Do you sign more than one player? It was just very complicated. And it was all going on crazy. And Sky Sports are running a story about it. And it's just like, wow, what the hell's going on here? It was a weird one because at no point did I sit down with Tom and say, we're going to sell you. Because I had never decided. Like I never said, oh yeah, we'll sell Tom, because I never wanted to sell him. But equally, I was like hearing out offers. And there was more than one offer, by the way. We had quite a few teams interested. And then when it got to the brass tacks of things and the numbers were really being talked about, there was actually 3 teams in the conversation to sign him. Now, out of respect to those other 2 teams, I'm not going to name them, and you know that is what it is. But XL, the team that have come through, let's talk a little bit about that. So, you know, you're going over there with, you know, sometimes I take my hashtag hat off, not literally because I'm wearing it right now, and I look at it from my relationship with you as a person. You know, I do consider you a friend, and I do consider all our players as friends. And I look at where your career is and where you can take it. And sometimes I have to be honest and say whether you're better off taking a deal elsewhere. And, you know, I don't think I'm saying too much in saying that XL put a really good offer in front of you. And I think you'd be stupid not to take it, to be honest. And as much as I will always say we're the best team in FIFA Esports, I'm biased. And I think it's such a weird one, isn't it? Because I'm sure you're not happy to be leaving in many ways, but it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think you've summed it up perfectly there. I think I've had a lot of nights where I thought, wow, like I actually don't really want to leave at all. But yeah, when offers like that come across, I think first thing I was taken aback by was the amount of interest. I don't know if you were expecting that either, but I definitely didn't expect that many teams to be really willing to take it over the line and actually pay a fee for me. So firstly, I was surprised by that. And then, yeah, obviously the offer that XL came in with was a one that I couldn't really reject. I think it helps me in my esports career a lot and will take me to another level. Hopefully that is the plan for me. I think I've been very good over the last 2 years and I want to kind of take it up another level and win loads of trophies. So yeah, the package at XL is great and it's something that I'm really looking forward to, but definitely not happy to be leaving. I'm not buzzing to go out the door. I've been taking my time to get out of here.
No, but we've got a lot of respect for XL as well. I've known the guys there for a long time and I really respect what they're trying to do. So, you know, they're a huge esports organization. I'll sit here all day and say how I think hashtag is the best supported, certainly, FIFA Esports organization. However, XL are much bigger than that. Let's be honest, when it comes to esports, you know, we aren't a massive esports org, hashtag. We're a big FIFA org. We don't do the other esports. We haven't got the budget, quite frankly. It's very expensive to get into these major esports. But XL do. XL are one of a number of teams that have serious resources and they've secured massive investment and they've decided to spend a percentage of that on you. And I think it's a great decision from them. I think it's a great decision from you. And I think it's a great decision from us. That's the weird thing.
Everyone wins.
It can happen. You can actually have a decision which the fans can be unhappy about, but everyone's done the right thing. You know, I remember when it first came about, I kept talking about you like you're Harry Kane. And I was saying I'm Daniel Levy, which I don't take any enjoyment in. But, you know, I've got a prized asset at the club. I don't want him to go. And if there's any, the difference there actually is it's quite an unfair comparison because Harry Kane was want away for a little period of time saying he wanted to leave and Tom never did do that. But it was more about, you know, Daniel Levy's known as a shrewd negotiator, right? And he was just like, he's not letting Kane go. And he ended up not going at all. So I was certainly, that did give me an element of freedom in the negotiations, I'll be honest, because at any point, if I'd said something that had meant they'd lost their interest, I wouldn't have cared. So I've been like, well, I get to keep Tom then. Do you know what I mean? So it's a weird one, but you mentioned something there about the last few years, and I think that's quite an important factor to talk about as well, because it's been, in many ways, been quite a tough few years. I mean, obviously, COVID affected every industry in different ways, but FIFA in a massive way. You know, like I mentioned earlier in the video, you've been one of the best players in the world for the last 2 years, but you never, for a couple of different reasons, got the opportunity to see that season through. You know, the World Cup has not happened the last 2 years, the culminating event of the calendar. And whilst you didn't actually qualify for the World Cup this year, that's a flaw in itself, as most people would argue. You're the #1 player for the whole year, and just because you didn't play well at one event, you didn't qualify for it. You did have an E-Nations event coming up, playing for England. Tom, I imagine, will continue to play for England as well, has done that for a few years. But last year, yeah, you qualified for the World Cup and you didn't get to go. How much has that affected your decision here? Because, you know, like, you must have felt, what more could you have done the last few years? Yeah,
I think if I was ever to come away with with regret, it's only that I didn't get to play in a World Cup and play on the world stage for because I would have been there the first year, and I think maybe the system might have been different the second year if it wasn't what we call a COVID year. So yeah, that is my only regret at the club, really, and it's something out of our control. It was just, it's weird because most people think, why can you not play a FIFA tournament when you can play FIFA at home? But obviously we're always at events, aren't we? Always traveling, and unfortunately it couldn't happen. And yeah, that did play a part. It kind of felt like I've done absolutely everything and still not got the chance to showcase it at the pinnacle. That is what every player wants to win, right? If you ask every single pro player in the scene, they would take the World Cup over anything. And yeah, it's upsetting that I never got to play in the last 2 years, but hopefully from next year onwards, we should be able to do it. Yeah, exactly. And I think with FIFA, obviously everyone knows the game changes every year. There's no real guarantees. It could be you've played a little bit of it, but you know, it could be a completely different kettle of fish. So when an offer comes along, especially if it's a long-term offer, something that's going to give you stability in your future, you've got to be able to take that. And I never want to be the kind of, you know, person that runs a club who stops people having these life-changing moments. What's the point of doing that? I don't want to keep people prisoners, the wrong word, because you wouldn't. I said all along to you, didn't I, that it's up to me whether you go or not, because I have you contracted. And I was always very honest with Tom about that. I said, like, don't get your hopes up too much in these chats, because if I change my mind and I don't want to sell you, you're here for another year. Tom never complained. Tom never said, oh no, I need to do this deal. He just went about his business, which in weird ways is another reason it's a shame to lose him, because he is such a professional. But no, I really think everyone handled it really well. I think Excel handled themselves really well as well. And I've said to you a few times about the process, but I think you've made the exact right choice in where you're going. And you know, I've got a lot of time for those guys. So it is going to be a tough one for the viewers to take, because I know you're a fan favourite, and I hope you guys will continue to tune into everything Tom does. Just like any player that is with us for a while and then moves on, they don't stop being what we like to call part of the hashtag family. And Tom's a football man first and foremost. His dad's a football manager, you know, the tier above what hashtag United men's team playing. So definitely like to see Tom at games and stuff in the future. And yes, it will be a shame to sort of continue and go in separate ways. But my job as a person in charge of this is to find the next Tom. You know, my job is to find the next story and the next partnership, if you like, that creates these narratives for you guys. And as much as it might sometimes seem like, oh, we can't imagine FIFA Esports, a hashtag without Tom. Well, there's probably a time you couldn't imagine it without hashtag Harry, which is a huge loss in many other ways. And there was probably a time, you know, people seen Tass won an event for us and couldn't believe it when he left. And that's my job, and that's the challenge I take on, is to find the next guy. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again, it's going to be very hard to replace Tom. You know, there's some great young players around, and there's some great personalities in the FIFA scene, but he's been a real joy to play with. What I want to ask you, Tom, is have you got a personal highlight from your 2 years at the club? There's a lot there. There's a lot of highlights to go through. I think there's so many different things that's happened over the last 2 years, and I think one thing I did want to say is like how much I've grown as a person since being here. I remember coming in and not even wanting to go on camera at the start. Wes was putting a vlog camera on me and I was thinking, what's going on here? Like, I don't know if I can do this. But yeah, how much I've grown, how good the people are at the club as well. But if we had to pick out one highlight, I think it is the E-Prem win. Yeah. Just because it was the first one. I'd spent 8 months trying. I thought, I'm going to be cursed here. And it was the last event of FIFA 20, particularly when it was me, you and Shorey in the room as well. Yeah. And it was just a perfect moment really to wrap up the season, just winning the way I did, quite dramatic. I think it was a 2-1 win, holding on for it at the end. And yeah, that you always see with that celebration how much it meant to me, because it was the first time in 4 years competing that I'd won a tournament. So yeah, I think one standout moment is definitely the Premier League. But in terms of, I think the best part of hashtag is the day-to-day life, and the friends I've made here is pretty incredible. I think to this day, I can't quite believe how much I've progressed and how much the club has been there for me and helped me out over the last 2 years. That it feels like every day isn't even work. It feels like you're just having fun all the time. And yeah, it's why the club is where it is, and it will continue to grow with or without me being here.
I love to hear you say that, because that's something that we've we try to create at the club. You know, it's the reason the club exists really is because I didn't want a normal job basically. You know, and it's all through association with like different people, being esports players or footballers, we've been able to share that experience with other people. And you're someone that really threw yourself in the deep end when it came to, you know, making friendships in the football team and all those things. And you've made some really, really good friends there, which I know you'll continue to have. So, yeah, I mean, it's just been a real success story. It has to, as much as it hasn't ended with a World Cup win or whatever, there has been trophies. I think you've probably won, I don't know if, I don't want to do anyone disservice here, but I don't think anyone else has ever won 2 sort of major trophies for us at the club. We've had Aga's won an ESWC and Tass has won a major event, of course, and there's been a few other bits here and there, but I think you're probably the most successful player we've had in terms of trophies. And when you say that you didn't want to be on camera when you first came in, that's just so crazy to hear, because it's literally like pretty much everything you do is on camera nowadays.
I know. I find it incredible. I think I knew what hashtag, I knew what I was getting into, but when it actually happens at the start, I was pretty shy. I don't think I was anywhere near as confident as I was. And yeah, just as I mentioned, like the people around you are always looking to support you and make yourself a better person, not just in FIFA, but in general. I think that was one thing I've noticed. I've been very hands-on at the office. You probably see me. I'm there every day for the last 2 years. And
100%.
yeah, it's one thing that virtually everyone, LP, Alex, Neil, Yanni in there, Stampy, Wes and Harry. I probably missed other people out.
Hodges.
Hodges there, yeah. Like everyone at the club has really, I come away from it not just a better player and a confident player, but a better person, full stop. I think that's the best way of putting it.
Well, that's great to hear, and I definitely agree. I think, you know, not that you weren't a great guy before. I didn't know you very well before. I was an idiot before
I came in.
No, but I mean, one of the reasons you come in, obviously, you're on our radar as a good player, but actually, I think as a person, you'd become close with Harry and the boys and socially, you know, hung out with them and stuff in the summer. And that's a massive part of our club, right? Especially when you're living with those lads. You've lived with Shorey pretty much the whole time. You lived with Harry, Wes, all that in the first year. So if you're, you know, you need to have a certain kind of personality to make that work, right? So that's a good lesson, actually, to anyone watching this, maybe an up-and-coming player is, you know, sometimes, obviously, you've got to have a certain level as a player, regardless, but sometimes actually the other things you do might be the thing that get you a move sometimes, is making that right friend in the right place, in the right time, or impressing. I always remember when we signed, one of the reasons we signed Honey Badger back in the day, who obviously was a good player and he'd been at a World Cup, but we played a football match in, I think it might have been Amsterdam at one of the events, and he was just very good at football. And I was like, wow. And whenever I see a FIFA player that's good at football, it always excites me. And then Tommy's a good footballer as well, by the way, because I think about those not just in terms of content, but like you would come and play with me on a Tuesday night for fun sometimes. It's just social things that we can do together. You haven't got to be amazing, but I like it when people are playing football regularly. I know you've got your Sunday team as well. You still AFC Chestnut, they're going to go strong next year?
Yeah, still playing where I can. It's tough in the FIFA season because ever since Shorey's injury, it's kind of put me off. He broke his hand last year. But yeah, with regards to that and hashtag, I think it's something that we're really, I want to say, ahead of the curve with. I think a lot of teams are now starting to follow suit from what I see of these gaming houses and having people together. It's something that hashtag did from the very start since I've been here. Harry and Shorey were living together. I soon moved in after I got the move. So yeah, I think hashtag in terms of FIFA and the other element of it are doing really well, and it's a reason why we've had so much success in the last 2 years. I always say to everyone, you've got to be mentally right to play FIFA. It's not just get up, have some breakfast, have a shower, stick FIFA on for 10 hours and you'll be great. It's a lot more than that. And I always say to people, if I had to give one bit of advice to any player watching, is the mental side is so important to being a top player. And I think that's one thing that hashtag have done and helped me with in the last 2 years, is the other side of the game that's made me feel comfortable, make me feel confident, and make me feel prepared for every time that I play a tournament.
And then mentally, there couldn't have been a more testing few years in the last few years, right? You're working so hard at a profession that kind of the rug gets pulled underneath you midway through your season, at first season of hashtag, when you're having such a good season as well. And the no World Cup. Being no World Cup this year was still annoying, but it was less of a shock because we had it before. But last year it was just like, what? And off the back of a football season that had been cancelled as well. So the whole club was kind of in disarray, right? And amount of sort of crisis meetings we all had to have at the office and ask ourselves, what the hell's going on? What does this mean, you know? Not just on the esports side of the football side, you know, people's jobs at the club, everything was in question for periods of time. Because that's what COVID does. And that's why I think that EPL memory is probably my favourite of yours as well, because, you know, I always remember how it was quite late. I think it's probably like 10:30 or 11 when you won. It might have even been like a Sunday night or something, or a Friday night. I don't remember which. We just like, what do we do? Like, where can we go? It might have been, I think it was in the middle of a lockdown, or certainly some kind of curfew rules were in place, whatever it was. And we were just like, normally in the good old days, if you like, of hashtag, we'd all, if the event had allowed us to, we'd have all gone out that night and had a great time. And we just never really, until recently, a couple of weeks ago, actually got the opportunity to do that. I was like, we've got to celebrate EPL. We didn't really get the chance to do that. Okay, we'll celebrate your regional qualifier win more recently. Well, where do we go? What can we do? And so finally, because the rules are a bit more lax now, we went out in London a few weeks ago. We got Harry and Wes down for it. And some of the football boys were there, and we had a nice day to kind of celebrate your whole 2 years. Yes,
ended up there was a 2-year celebration for everything we've done. But yeah, that was a very strange time. But I think that's one thing with hashtag, how much that helped me during the lockdown. Because I know a lot of FIFA players that have struggled. You know, being at home, we were all locked up. It's tough, but when you've got to be mentally at the top of your game to be winning stuff, I think it did play a massive part in why I was so successful in FIFA 21. Just having the ability to be around Shuri and still had a lot of fun still, like creating content all the time, vlogging from the flat, vlogging at the office and things like that. It was a massive thing for me, and I think it does play a massive part in my 21 success, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, your work ethic never failed during that whole period. That's when I started to really see, be impressed by you, basically. Well, finally, Tom, have you got any words you would like to share with the people watching at home, the hashtag faithful, if you like, because I'm sure they'd love to hear directly from you.
Words for the hashtag faithful, just a massive thank you. I think I wasn't quite aware of how well supported we would be coming into it. It took me by surprise just how many nice people there are at the club. Had the support, the fan base is brilliant, the football team and for the esports team, how interlinked that is. And I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate every comment. I see every comment, every tweet, every Instagram comment as well. I've seen all of it, and I just wanted to say a big thank you. And yeah, you know how far this club's going to go. We both know it. I think this club's destined to go to the very top with how we're doing. So stick by the tags no matter what.
This is Harry Redknapp moment, and I guess we're Frank Lampard. He's going to go to the very top. And I would say to our fans at home as well, which I know I don't need to, but keep supporting this kid. You know, when he goes and he has his new, names or whatever they are online, it's still hashtag Tom in my eyes. Tom Lees, whatever his name is, he's still part of the club, and keep supporting him because he's a great egg. And also a message to any FIFA pros out there or any up and coming FIFA pros: this is the model you should be following. I'm telling you now. I've had a lot of good players this club. I've been very lucky, and it's not a coincidence because we try and get good people in as well as good players. And I'm not trying to take away from anyone else because I love all my children equally. However, Tom is the model pro, and I say this to people at EA, I say this to anyone I can, because we need to celebrate these people when they come in the scene because he handles himself very well. That's why I wish him the best, of course. I say to Excel, well done, you've got yourself a great bargain. Thanks for the money. That money will go towards good use, and that's my guarantee to the viewers watching at home. This isn't going in anyone's pocket. Nothing does at this club. When we know what we're spending it on, you will know, because we're working every day on that. And sometimes we have some developments, but we're not only going to tell you them when there's actually something concrete to talk about. But the vision and the goal is there. Any money we can secure that doesn't need to go into the day-to-day running of the club is going towards getting a permanent home for this club so it can be around for a long, long time. We can keep entertaining you, basically. That's what we want to do. That's basically it, guys. From basically this moment on, Tom will no longer be at hashtag United officially. Our team is, as you know, Alex Shaw, Shawry continuing, and Tom Stokes, hashtag Stokes we'll call him, joining the club, which we're very happy to have him here. Proven winner. He's won the playoffs in Amsterdam back in 2019. One of the biggest events you can win in FIFA Esports. And someone that previously played for Rebel. We've signed some people from Rebel before. Jesse Wallace and Sam Bowles. They always worked out quite well. So we look forward to creating new stories with Shawry and Stokes going forward. Guys, drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. I know it's not the happiest of news, but hopefully you've enjoyed the process of learning about how this move came about. Subscribe for more. Check out the hashtag United Esports channel. We've made another big addition on the esports side, which is bringing Ben Glander in, who's a player you may remember from the Sunday League videos, but he's also a really good esports player, I guess, in terms of knowledge. He's a verified player, but also he knows a lot about content online and the FIFA scene, and he's going to be helping run that channel and our esports team from now on. So you'll see him in some videos as well. So we've got lots of exciting things coming on the hashtag esports channel. The link's in the description. All Tom's links are in the description. which hopefully you already follow him. But if you didn't already follow him after 2 years of being at the club, drop him a follow now. Stay tuned with him. He's going to the very top. We're both going. We're all going.
We're just both going there.
But that's it. So Tom, thank you. Good luck, and don't forget to hashtag it.
Don't forget to hashtag it. Can I get a stand at the stadium?
Too much.
Too much.
It's like Rio Ferdinand. When Rio Ferdinand got sold to Leeds, they wanted the stand. That was 18 million. So
Not quite there yet.
I'll get your seat.
Yeah, perfect. I'll take that.
See you soon, guys.